on this ongoing conflict, we turn to Avi Melamed. He's a Middle East geopolitical intelligence analyst and the founder of Inside the Middle East Institute. Mr. Melamed, thank you so much for making time for us, sir.
Hello, Natasha. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, sir. And I'd like to begin, if I may, with some new information we're just getting out of the National Security Advisor to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, he has said that Israel received no concrete warning about the October 7th attacks by Hamas from Gaza. And they did have an emergency meeting on that day, but nothing that came out of that meeting in terms of intelligence gathering would warrant a response from Israeli military or Israeli security. So they had the meetings, nothing came out of it. Is this a demonstration of Israel's failure or Hamas's incredible sophistication and strength?
Well, Natasha, it's both. To make a long story short, Hamas was unfortunately quite sophisticatedly misleading the Israeli whole system, and the Israeli whole system basically was unfortunately misreading the reality. That's the bottom line. It's a combination of the two.
What do you think Hamas's objectives were a week ago, and where do you think they stand now?
Hamas launched that war because Hamas wants to position itself as the factor, as a regional factor that decides the trajectory of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. A few words about Hamas. Hamas is a Sunni militant Islam group. The Sunnis are majority of the Muslims in the world. Hamas was established in Gaza Strip in the 1980s, and also the Islamic Jihad. Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and ISIS, they are all in the same camp because they have two common denominators. One, they are all advocating a genocidal agenda, and particularly calling for the elimination of the state of Israel. And the second thing is that they are basically fueled by apocalyptic outlook of all mankind because they wish to create an entity that is called caliphate. And according to that outlook, the people that will live in caliphate will have the choice either to become Muslims or to be perished. So this is the common denominators when we are talking about it. So Hamas is leading a genocidal agenda. By the way, in September 2021, Hamas held conference in Gaza Strip. And in that conference that was titled The End of Days, Hamas basically produced a statement, a 20-article statement that basically deals with the question what to do with the state of Israel after it will be demolished. Well, Article 16 on that statement basically says that the only Israelis that should be kept are scientists, because they are valuable for Hamas. Last Saturday, we saw a manifestation of this genocidal approach.
Let me ask you, do you think that Palestinians, ordinary civilians in Gaza, are supportive of Hamas based on your extensive research?
Let's put it this way. Hamas took over Gaza Strip by force in 2007, terminating the rule of its brothers, the Palestinian Authority. On the one hand, there are many people in Gaza Strip who benefit Hamas rule. Remember, Hamas governs Gaza Strip. It employs 50,000 officials. It has dozens of thousands of militants, and many people make good life out of Hamas rule. On the other hand, there are many people in Gaza Strip who loathe Hamas. Many people in the Arab world loathe Hamas. For years, many people in the Arab world, including Palestinians in Gaza Strip, held Hamas accountable for the disastrous situation in Gaza Strip. Whenever there were expressions of a protest in Gaza Strip, Hamas brutally oppressed them. So this is Hamas, this is the situation when it comes to the story of Gaza Strip.
Mr. Melamed, let me ask you on a point of confusion for many. So as you rightly mentioned, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, ISIS, and we can add to that Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, they all sort of belong to this overarching Sunni Islamist ideology for the world. But at the same time, we so often hear about Hamas being supported by Hezbollah and one step removed by Iran, so which is a Shia nation, and it has a very specific and different perspective on an Islamist regime. How are these two perspectives coming together?
Well, Natasha, thank you for that question. Excellent question. Indeed, Hezbollah in Lebanon is a Shiite organization. It is based mostly upon the Shiites in Lebanon. Majority of the Muslims in the world are Sunnis, about 80% or so. Minority are Shiites. Sunnis and Shiites are in an ongoing historical conflict one with the other. So you may wonder what brings together Hezbollah, who is Shiite in Lebanon, and Islamic Jihad Hamas in Gaza Strip, who are Sunnis. The answer is two common denominators. Both vows to eliminate the state of Israel through violence. The second, both Hamas, Islamic Jihad on the one hand, Hezbollah on the other hand, are massively supported, guided, nurtured by the Iranian regime. Money, arms, training, and so on and so on. Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and Hezbollah are actually part of a large structure of armies of terror that the Mullah regime in Tehran, the Iranian regime, was creating and advancing across the Middle East, from Yemen, through Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza Strip. Those armies of terror are known also by the name of the Axis of Resistance. Within the frame of the Axis of Resistance, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah has a very specific task in the eyes of the Mullah regime in Tehran. They are forming what the Mullah regime is calling the ring of fire, meaning they are creating a loop around Israel's neck, and that loop, massively armed by the Iranians with missiles, rockets, drones, thousands of militants, that loop is supposed to be simultaneously activated when the times come to attack the state of Israel, to target deliberately, intentionally, knowingly the Israeli cities and the civilians in order to eliminate the state of Israel. On Saturday, the Gaza area, which is basically an Iranian base, was activated by Hamas and Islamic Jihad.
Mr. Melamed, when you describe the ideologies in that way, how does Israel, a nation state, a democratic country with a functioning military, fight militias and a religious ideology? They're not playing by the same sets of rules. Can you actually eliminate Hamas, which the IDF says is their main goal here?
Well, Natasha, this is an enormously significant point, and let me add another significant issue. Not only that Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad are deliberately, knowingly, intentionally targeting the Israeli civilians, at the same time they are making their own brothers and sisters, whether it's in Gaza Strip or in Lebanon, human shield, meaning they are operating from their within civil environment, taking advantage of the fact that they are protected, quote unquote, by their own brothers and sisters. That is, of course, present Israel a double task, meaning Israel has at the same time to shelter its own citizens, and at the same time, when Israel tries to defend itself, it has to try to avoid as much as possible collateral damage, and Israel is doing an enormous efforts to that end. Now, Israel identifying the dangerous threat that Iran presents, the ring of fire. Israel has been constantly acting in order to try and to intercept the creation of this segment, of this ring of fire. This is the reason why you hear constantly in the recent years about Israeli constant attacks against Iranian-based and backed militias who are scattered in Syria, because those militias, Afghani militias, Pakistani militias, Iraqi militias that are also supported, armed, and trained by the Iranians, those militias are part of this ring of fire. And therefore, Israel is constantly attacking that because Israel wants to intercept that ring of fire. And that brings me to something that is enormously significant to understand in the context of the situation right now. It is not only Israel's interest to eliminate Hamas and Islamic Jihad military capacities. It is not only the interest of the Palestinians. It is not only the interest of the Middle East. It is the interest of the international community.
Avi Melamed, thank you so much for your time and for your insight, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Natasha.